I have the pleasure here to be with Joe Kane, and we were back here 2 years ago. We were in Belgium,
Yes.
and we were talking about the format war, and you came out with some very provocative things that we talked about. Is the format war now, as of January 2008, is the game over, or is there still a little bit of game to be played?
Well,
do you think? In your expert opinion?
In my own estimation.
Get your shirt wet again?
In my own estimation, certainly there is a declaration that the war is over, and there's a presumption that it's going to be difficult to compete on one side if there isn't a lot of software supporting the format. Warner isn't going to stop making HD DVD until June of this year. May will be their final production. So there is still going to be some HD DVD coming out. And Toshiba has certainly announced that they're going to reduce the price of players. And on the other side of that, organizations or companies within the Blu-ray group have announced that they're going to effectively buy back HD DVD players to get Blu-ray players placed. So is the war over? If one camp is buying the other's players, it might not really be over yet.
So I wouldn't build a second-hand model for second-hand equipment, because that probably won't be a very good business model. But there may be a way that the HD DVD has always been cheaper, okay, and it's been, what we've said before, better. It's not a nicer image. When you have the quality from end to end, and now the high quality screen and projector and stuff, it's better.
The people that were supporting the HD DVD camp, in general, were doing a better job of producing product. There are certainly some standouts in the Blu-ray camp, but not anywhere near as many standouts when it comes to quality as people who were supporting corporations who were supporting HD DVD.
But didn't this sort of get pushed a little quickly, because people are starting to worry that if the format war continued a little bit longer, they actually both completely lose out, and download would blow them off the face of the earth completely?
There were certainly two sides to that. You're absolutely correct that there was a concern that if this quote-unquote format war, which is effectively keeping a large number of consumers out of the market, the prolonging of that dual availability certainly might have pushed the format off to a point, the optical disc format might have pushed it off to a point where it would have no chance of success. On the other hand, the competition between the two formats, and one of the things I'm disappointed in consumers for not understanding, the competition between the formats was actually driving developments in each format much faster. So changes were happening faster, quality was going up faster, there was incentive to do a better job because the other camp was doing it. There are more features. Internet connection is coming to Blu-ray because it was there in HD DVD, and there was at least a proof of interest in that kind of interactivity. So there were certainly people who had hoped that they could keep the format war going a little bit longer, so that the global quality for the consumer would be increased.
They
could equalize. They could bring it to the highest level instead of the lowest common denominator. And I was certainly disappointed in losing. I actually do feel, in a way, the format war is over, because without key studios supporting it, the competition isn't there. And I think the competition was necessary to get the kind of quality that we want out of those formats. The disc, I don't want to go out and buy a disc when the quality of that disc is only equal to what I can get in broadcast, cable, or satellite. There's no point in buying a disc if the quality on the disc isn't a lot better. And studios, I believe, some studios at least that are supporting the Blu-ray camp. I'm going back and tell you that looking at what they're putting out, I believe they either don't care about what the consumer gets, or they can't see what they're delivering to the consumer.
Wow.
One or the other, because they're not delivering very good quality.
Ooh, okay.
And so they certainly aren't delivering a quality that is any better than broadcast. It might be equal to broadcast, but it's certainly not any better.
So there's a quality jump. There's room to improve, but isn't that going to be too late if people start? There are a number of people in the companies in the United States now that do downloads. They're even doing quote unquote HD downloads. Why don't you give us a little insight into your thoughts about that?
The potential of creating downloads that are better quality is certainly there, just as the potential of putting them out on disc is certainly there now. That we've got a number of studios that are doing 4K transfers where they're actually transferring the film at much higher resolution than is being released. And of course, basically what you're creating is an oversampled situation where oversampling in audio, where if you record data at a much higher rate than you release, the audio quality is going to be a lot higher. And the same thing is happening if you do a good job of a 4K transfer and then down convert it to 1080p, the image quality will be much better than if you transfer it at 1080p. There's room for growth, but more important, that growth isn't actually going to happen until consumers recognize and appreciate that growth. I'm stuck in a situation now, I say stuck, I find myself in a situation where the up-and-coming generation is satisfied to watch their movie on the handheld display device. And I really can't see a lot of blockbuster movies coming across the way I would like to see them come across on a handheld display device. So I think before this quality level is appreciated, before it's actually going to sell, the most important thing is display devices are going to have to be sold that will get the consumer interested in buying or obtaining much higher quality. And to that effect, our company, Kane Productions, is currently bringing out both a Blu-ray disc and an HD DVD called HD Basics. And we're trying to explain to consumers what they should be looking for in a high-definition device so that they can appreciate what we would like to have the studios do in supplying software.
Okay. So what's the next step? Is the market actually mature enough that the companies in the U.S. are going to be able to make a viable business model out of the download, or are we still about 3-4 years away?
Well, when you say 3 or 4 years away,
it's like tomorrow, but yeah.
Downloads are going to require really high-speed internet connections to make it practical. If a consumer is willing to wait overnight, if they're a Netflix customer where they place their order today and the disc is there tomorrow, if they're that kind of a customer, then internet download would be practical as well, because in the same 16-hour or 20 or 24-hour time period that it takes to order and get it back, we could probably download that same movie. But then how it's delivered isn't anywhere near as important to me as what is being delivered. And I, of course, want the very best quality that's out there. I've been excited about discs that have come out in HD DVD because when I want to show people what real high definition is, I only have to go to Warner titles on HD DVD and get some of the finest pictures that anybody has ever seen. And most people who have had an opportunity to see these pictures have been excited enough to want to go out and buy the equipment that allows them to see that. But it's one step at a time, it's one consumer at a time, and that's way too slow. We've got to find ways of showing people how good things can actually be. And right now, that's my focus. My focus initially when we spoke was wanting or observing that one camp was putting out better quality than the other camp. It didn't, and I tried hard to say at the time, it didn't mean the other camp couldn't put out high quality, but one was doing it better than the other. And so I was pushing heavily for the camp that was producing the better pictures. And that's not the case now. Now we've got a single provider, and it's what are we going to do to help them, coerce them into making better quality available. That's where my head is right now. The format war isn't an issue with me anymore. The issue is getting consumers to recognize quality when they see it and demand quality from whatever venue it comes.
Okay. So hope we'll see you for a sequel to our little series. Probably the next time it will be maybe at CEDIAN UK during the summer, or in any case we'll be doing a saga at the City UK in Denver again this year.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, Joe.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you
Bye-bye.
for that.